All right, good morning, folks. I'm going to show you how to make a Pulk sled here. I've had a few requests since our last trip. If you're backpacking in the winter with at least a few inches of snow, you can throw a lot of your gear on a sled behind you. Very light, really lightens the load on your back. I still backpack with my backpack. I usually just put my bag, sleeping bag, and my clothes, everything else, tent, food canister, maybe a couple of those instant logs. I throw all that on the sled and off we go. So I'm going to show you, you can make this for about 50 bucks. I'll explain where you can get the components, and then I'll show you how to go about putting it together. First thing is a sled. This is a regular Pulk sled. This one we purchased at Abashan Hardware. They carry them, $35 I believe. Dick's Sporting Goods has them, but they're $40. Where else did I see? You can get them online. So that's where you can get those. The belt here that you're going to hook the poles to, got this at Home Depot, it's like $6. And then two stainless locking carabiners here. And you just take a soldering gun and just poke a hole right about, mid. You want the holes right behind your hip, just a little bit, because that's where the poles are going to come up, and you're going to hook them in here with a carabiner. I'll show you in a minute. The belt was at Home Depot, was $5, $5.99. These little clips, they're stainless steel. They were $3 each, but you could probably get something a lot less expensive. I just didn't want to have rust or anything develop. So that takes care of your belt. Just a simple old belt. You don't want to hook it to your backpack, because your backpack straps, especially your hip adjusting straps that go back, you don't want to put your sled hooked on that. It's not designed to take the load, the constant pulling and pushing that the sled's going to put on you. So you want to have it on a separate belt. Then you're going to need to go, while you're at Home Depot or Lowe's or where your hardware store, pick up a 10-foot section of 1/2-inch PVC. I got this at Home Depot. It was $1.82 for a 10-foot section. And I just walked over to the molding section. They have a little bench with a handsaw, and I just cut it in half. So you end up with two 5-foot sections. And that's perfect. That's what you want. You want it about the length of your sled. And then when we go to put this together, this is how it's going to go. All right. Then you're going to want 4 caps. These are the little caps that you're going to put on the end of your PVC pipe, and you're not going to glue these in. These are real tight. It's a good friction fit. And you're going to drill a 1/4-inch hole, or maybe a 1/4-inch hole in each one of these caps, because the line that you're going to use to outline this whole thing, the cord, is going to run through this line. Okay, so each 4 of these, each one drill a hole in there. And again, these were 20 cents each, I believe, so not that expensive. Then you're going to want your cordage. I got this here at Home Depot. This is nylon poly braid. It's 160-pound pull or breaking strength, where this thing will probably, you're not going to put more than 20 pounds, 25 pounds of pull on here if you're going uphill. That's about it. You can get different colors. My wife, I'm making this one for my wife. We're going to do blue. And this is, what's the length on this? 50 feet. So get a 50-foot roll, because you're going to use half of it to outline the sled, come up the poles, and the remainder, we're going to use it as our tie-down netting over your load that you're going to be carrying. This again was $6, something like that, $5.99, $6 for your line. Then you're going to want some carabiners. These are, I don't know, you can get 2 for $1. I got these here. We got at Home Depot. They were 99 cents. And these are the kind of larger ones that have the lock on it. See the little lock? See how that lock's in there? These are going to go at the end of your pole that are going to hook into your belt. Okay, so you want 2 large ones for that. And then I have 2 more large ones that are going to go in the rear. You can get away with the mediums. I just went with large. And then you're going to have actually you need 14 total. You need 14 carabiners. And then these here mediums are going to go along the edge. You'll see how we put those in. And that's how you're going to hook up your line to lock your gear on there is through these carabiners. You don't want an eye because then you're going to have to thread each one of those. It's a pain in the neck. It's easier just to have the carabiner and these here. You just take your line, it'll show you, and you just hook it, you hook it instead of having to thread your line all the way through. Believe me, it's a pain in the ass. So you need 14. So you need 2 here at the end of your pole. You need 2 here, so you're going to have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So you need 14 of these total. These we got at Walmart. I think it was $1.50 for 2 of these little mediums. They're in the camping section. And that's about it. So let's go ahead and start stringing the line. And I'll get back to you. I'll get it started. So this is a little time consuming. So I'll get it started and then I'll show you how I did it. Okay. Okay. All right. So you take your line and you take your line, and your first thing you have to do is you got to thread it through one of the caps. Twist it through, okay? So now your line's coming through a cap. All right, once it goes through the cap, then you take your line and you thread it down your pole. Put the cap back on. The line is now through your pole. Now what you got to do, find the bitter end, and you got to put it through another cap that is going to be at the rear. So make sure you put it this way. Don't put it that way because it's not going to stick. So you want this, when we're done, we want this cap over the end. So you take the line and you run it through. This one here is a little tougher to run through. I should have done this before I did the, yeah. Let me see if I have a wider hole here on this one. All right, be right back. Okay, we got it through. There was sometimes the end of this line, because it's nylon, when you heat it up, it has, it's got that clump of crust on there, and I couldn't get it through the hole, so I had to recut it. So now you got your line going through. Just pull it all the way. And then you can just put that right back. Friction fit, do not glue it. If in the field you break a line, you want to be able to take this apart so that you can tie it together and re-thread it. If this was glued, there's no way you'd be able to thread this line through the hole at the bottom. You just can't do it. So in the field, if they ever break the line, you just pull that off, re-thread it. It's a lot easier to re-thread it this way than it is trying to, slide it through the pole and get it through this little hole. So put that cap back on. All right, so now you got one, you got the line here. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to line this up. And you're going to take your line, you're going to pull enough line to just go all the way around the perimeter of the sled. and then extend out another 5 feet because it's got to go through the pole like I said earlier. All right, so now, before you do all that, run it down, like I said, run it down. And there you go, now we're all lined up here, okay? On the perimeter, all the way around. You're going to take the line, you're going to make a little loop like this. You're just going to loop it. Then you're going to run it through the first little hole right here. You're going to take a carabiner, you're just going to hook it. That's it. Pull that line. You're going to go down to the next little hole. It's already pre-drilled in these sleds. You're going to make a loop, squeeze it, pop it through the hole so you have a little loop. Take another carabiner. Actually, we're gonna make it colorful. We're just gonna alternate colors here for her, and pull it tight. You're gonna go around later and readjust the tension on this line. Right now, we're just putting everything. Make an eye. Run it through. Take a carabiner. Okay, so let me finish this. Let me run it all the way around, and I will come right back to you. Okay, so I've run the line all the way through like I showed you earlier. This is where the bulk of the line is, all this line. You started at the end, ran it through the cap, threaded it down the pole. The line comes up, goes down the grommet. The grommet right there. Then the line goes underneath this lip, and wherever there's a hole, you just pop a loop, and you bring the loop up, put a carabiner through. That line continues all the way around. This is all it's doing. Now what we want to do, now that the line is strung, it went on all the way around, it came up, you run it through a cap, then you run the line through your pole, you put the cap on. They're only going to be friction adhered. The line runs up the pole, through another cap, but you're going to have to do it without the cap on because you'll never be able to get the line through there. Once the line goes through there, you put the cap back on. Then what you do at the end of your line, you just make a loop. That's it, just a little loop. This loop is now going to receive your larger carabiner. Here's your larger carabiner. Now this carabiner, here's your belt that you're going to be wearing. This carabiner now just sits onto your belt, like so. And now, you know, obviously when you go downhill, this thing is going to be pulling or pushing you, but when you're going up a little hill, now you're going to be pulling, all right? So now the object is, we need to go back, and we need to take out all this slack. You don't want all this, you don't want this pole sliding like this. That's not good. You want everything nice and tight. This will stretch a little bit. So what we're going to do is start all this in reverse, and we're going to tighten this right up. So we'll start down here by pulling this tight. Right, we have no slack here. Pull this line through. See how nice and tight that is? You want that tight. So we're going to have to go around, and each one of these here, each one of these loops, you want to pull the other side. you want to get that nice and tight. Now there's no slack in here. Oh, we still have a little bit more, so I gotta just pull that down. You pull this up. I find that by pulling up this carabiner, now you can pull that slack. Now that's nice and tight. We'll work over to the other one, pull that up, pull the bitter end. We got the bitter end. Here's the bitter end right here. Go underneath, pull that down, line up the carabiner so that it looks like this, and pull that loose end nice and tight. So now that's nice and tight. Okay? We'll run down. We'll do another one here. Same thing. Pull this up. Pull the slack. Take the slack out of here from the previous one. Pull that nice and tight. Then what I do is I'll hold it here. I'll reach over on this side underneath, and I'll grab that bitter end here, and we'll pull down nice and tight. See? Nice and tight. All right? So I will continue, and I will tighten up all the way around, and then I'll get back to you and show you how we finish this thing off, okay? Okay, I've gone around and tightened up all the slack. Now it's fairly snug here. And the reason why you don't want to have a knot on each one of these is if you have a load on here and you're pulling by your poles, a lot of the stress now and a lot of this pulling is going to be spread out along the whole side, not just by one, by tying this line right here. You're always going to have stress pulling by this one individual grommet. By leaving this loose the way it is, it's dispersing that pole, along here. So it should last your lifetime, unless you slide down a hill and hit a rock or something, or a tree. So now this is the slack that I ended up having. So what we're going to do is going to take this pole. This is the one that we started with, and we're just going to pull this line. I'm going to pull that slack all the way. So again, it's just like this side. There's very little slack on here. You want to pull this really tight. Then you want to leave yourself about, 8 inches here. Take a pair of scissors and just cut that. All right, now you have the remainder of that 50 feet you have right here. We're going to use that in a little while. I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. Now what you want to do is you want to pull this really tight. And we want to try to make a loop. Just like what we did here. I put a loop at the end, right up against this here cap. And then we put one of our carabiners on there. We just hooked it like that. And again, this is the carabiner that will be hooked to your belt. So now we need to duplicate this on the other side. So again, pull this nice and tight. I'm just going to make a little loop here. You want to get it as close to that cap as you can. Keep playing with it so that you can eat up most of that slack that's in there. Okay, there we go. You can take a lighter after and just melt the end here, keep it from fraying on you. So now our other end is done. We'll grab our other carabiner, hook that. You're set to go. Now, you may want to get a little piece of Velcro, because what you want to do, you don't want to be pulling a sled like this. You want to have it crossed. And by doing that is when you're going around a corner, this pole will end up trying to push the front over there while this pole is pulling that corner to follow you. And this thing tracks really nice around trees and rocks. And if you pull it like this, if you hold it like this, like a horse, you know, setup, wagon setup, when you go around a tree, this side's going to be pulling, but you see how it's not, it doesn't want to make the turn with you. It wants to keep going straight. So it just doesn't work out right. The best, I find the best is to cross it, and then what I have is a little piece of Velcro. You put a little piece of Velcro here, just so it stays together. Now that Velcro, if you move it up, if you have narrow hips, you don't have a narrow opening. If you slide it back down, it opens up on you. Just leave it loose, but it just keeps this kind of where you want it. So if you're taking a break on the trail, you just unhook it from your waist and it just drops down and it's already in the position you need. When you're ready to leave, you pick it up, it's already together to hook to your waist belt. And you can do this yourself. You don't need a second person to do it. It's very, very easy. So basically this is all set up. I spray painted my poles orange. I'm going to probably down the road spray paint hers a color that maybe blue or something or whatever she wants. Or you can just leave them white. It really doesn't matter. But I did it with the fluorescent orange in case you have a problem on the trail. You can take these poles and stand them up like they do on the ski slopes, and it'll be more visible to anybody looking for you or to try to track down some help. White on white snow isn't really going to stand out. So I painted mine orange, or any other color you want to paint yours. Okay, so basically the sled's done. Now what we're going to do is you're going to take your bitter end here and you're going to do another little eye like we did at the ends of the poles. It's going to make a little loop here. Alright, we have a little eye, and then you can start either one. You can either start it in the front or you can start it in the rear. I prefer to start it in the rear and end it in the rear. You take the loop, you hook your carabiner like this. Alright, let me just grab a bag here. I have a bag of gear. Ideally, what you're going to do is you're going to get a top, an 8x8 top, $5. What we use, are the emergency blankets. Throw that in the top. Take your gear, whatever you're taking, your backpack if you don't want to carry it, throw it in here, throw your beer canister, your tent, whatever you want. Throw all that in there. Then what you're going to do is you're going to wrap the front of it, and you're going to wrap the back. Then you're just going to tuck one side over, bring the other side back, and you're going to try to line this top up so that you can tuck this edge in the sled. Okay? You can put a body in here if you want to get rid of somebody. Oh boy, here we go. All right, so you got your gear all waterproof, basically. Now you got your carabiner. What I do is I alternate. I crisscross. I alternate. So I'll skip this one, and I'll go over to here. See how easy that was to hook it? Put a little tension on it. Come back here. Hook this one. Put a little tension. Come over here. Hook this one. Little tension. Okay, I've gone around and tightened up all the slack. Now it's fairly snug here. And the reason why you don't want to have a knot on each one of these is if you have a load on here and you're pulling by your poles, a lot of the stress now and a lot of this pulling is going to be spread out along the whole side, not just by one, by tying this line right here. You're always going to have stress pulling by this one individual grommet. By leaving this loose the way it is, it's dispersing that pole, along here. So it should last your lifetime, unless you slide down a hill and hit a rock or something, or a tree. So now this is the slack that I ended up having. So what we're going to do is going to take this pole. This is the one that we started with, and we're just going to pull this line. I'm going to pull that slack all the way. So again, it's just like this side. There's very little slack on here. You want to pull this really tight. Okay, sorry about that. The camera just had an automatic shut off. So you take your bitter in after you have about 24 inches here. And where the line crosses, you're going to have a bunch of those here. Just take one, bring your line underneath, wrap it a couple of times, and then just make a bow like you do on your shoelace. So you're all set. You got a nice bow right there, and now you're all set to go. This is not your gear; is not going anywhere. It's in there. The sled can roll over. You're all set. When you get to camp, you just pull your bow, undo your line, take out your gear, and you're all set. You got your poles right here. You can just stow this up against a tree, put it in the shelter, whatever you want to do. But so this is your setup. Pulk Sled, $50. Took me 20 minutes to put it together. Real easy. The only tools you need would be a little drill to drill a 1/4-inch hole on the end of the caps, a knife or a pair of scissors, and a heating gun, or maybe you could heat up a nail over the stove or something, because you need to this nylon belt, you need to put a hole in here, so you need some way of melting it. You don't take a knife and cut a hole. You don't want to do that. It'll end up fraying. You want to actually use you want to melt a hole in there. So a soldering gun is the best. Use the tip of a soldering gun to put your hole in. So that's it for tools. Really, you don't really need much. So that's it. So follow us on Facebook, New England Backpacking. We're open. We do a lot of trips, free trips. You can join us. We're going to a Tahoe Rim Trail this year. We're doing a 100-mile wilderness in Maine in August. We have a few openings left. You can follow us. Obviously, you probably saw this on YouTube. Paws on the Trail. I'm Paws, and hopefully you've learned something, and this will make your winter backpacking trips a little easier. Okay, have fun, be safe.